And that's credibility, because they see it for themselves.
Exactly. You see with your eyes is different, of course, when you hear or read or anything. Yes.
That is transmitting the message through seeing on solid grounds how it happens.
Yes.
In the field of security, and this is also a very important area where we as Africans unite in the fight against terrorism.
Exactly, yes. We, as I mentioned, we do have some training courses with the Army Training Authority and with the Police Academy. And as I mentioned, they are becoming very popular, particularly in the area of fighting terrorism. Particularly that the kind of fundamental terrorism, we have some experience in it, and since it is in so many spots in Africa now. And as I told you, sometimes the demand is just so overwhelming that we cannot cater for all of it, but it's a very good sign of success, and we're having an impact in it.
Great. Well, since the agency was launched, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that the new body then would get involved in what we call science diplomacy. What is science diplomacy, Mr. Ambassador?
I think mainly we do a lot of the areas when we do in this area of sharing of knowledge. It's in areas that have a scientific edge in it, whether it's medicine, it's engineering, it's agriculture. And I will tell you, I was really very impressed. I mean, after taking this job, I have seen centers of excellence and knowledge in Egypt that not many normal Egyptians are aware of, including myself. And I am very proud of that, and the impact they are making in sharing the knowledge with a lot of our African brothers and sisters. You just feel it. It's, I mean, this knowledge is, you cannot put a money value on it. It could be even much more precious than just giving money or handouts if you have that. But just sharing the knowledge and helping them, develop on their own and get skills and experiences, I think it's a very impressive and worthwhile cause.
Right. Well, if we talk about business-wise with Africa, the 26th nation signing the Free Trade Pact, the creation of a common market on half of the continent, well, more aspirations, definitely.
Definitely.
The sky is the limit in that respect.
I cannot agree more. You know, this summit took place on the 10th of June in Sharm el-Sheikh last year, and it brought together the three largest trading free trade blocs in Africa, the SADC, which is the Southern African Development Community, the COMESA, which is the Common Market for East and South Africa, and the East African Community. They represent 26 African countries. That's like almost half the number of African countries. It is 60% of African GDP. You're talking about a market of $1.3 trillion, 620 million people. It's a huge market. Once you dismantle the trade barriers among such a great market, you automatically open tremendous opportunities for intra-trade and investment. Not only among these countries, members of the free trade area, but also foreigners who are very much interested in investing in Africa. If they invest in any one of these countries, they have access to this whole larger market, so it stimulates even foreign investment strongly in the region. After we finished the forum Africa 2016 in Sharm el-Sheikh with 2 days, negotiations already started for a pan-African free trade area.
Right.
So we hope that this big nucleus of the tripartite free trade area would also be an impetus to speed up negotiations for the Pan-African free trade area. It is not a coincidence that the entire world is clamoring to invest in Africa. I mean, all the big economic powers have great interest now, and they want to come strongly into Africa. Some of them, I always get the question, are we competing with them? We are not necessarily competing with them, because we are Africans, we are part of this, and they want to be part of us, so it's the other way around. I mean, we are
working in the name of the agency, in a sense of partnership.
Exactly, yes.
We are more partners than competitors.
Exactly, especially with our African brothers and sisters, but I was referring also to the foreign economic powers who are investing in Africa, because they are outsiders in all cases. Even if they have advantages, we have more advantages. We are African, we have a very strong historical legacy. You will be surprised how much it's still very much vivid in the Africans we meet. And I think since we are also part of this free trade area, our private sector should benefit, African private sector, and also the foreigners who come in the area should complement our efforts in that regard and help us.
Right. Achievements on solid grounds like the new Suez Canal Access Project, the Port Said Harbor, and more. How did they receive the news of doing business in such areas? And definitely on the sidelines of the Africa Forum, there has been discussions in that regard.
I can tell you they are very thrilled about it. We had a very special presentation where Dr. Ahmed Darwish explained the prospects of the area and how, when it's developed, it could be the hub for Africa to interaction with the outside world. Actually, as a follow-up of that, we are hosting very soon a workshop for all the heads of African ports in Egypt, in Alexandria, in the Arab Academy for Maritime Sciences, and we'll also be with Rahmat Darwish to discuss how we can link all these African ports with the logistical hub that we're establishing in Suez Canal and plan for the future. Because as you might know, one of the main major obstacles for intra-African trade and investments is the issue of transportation. So of course maritime and also dry ports are going to be involved in that, are extremely important.
Right. Well, the private sector and the investment in Africa, definitely the private sector has a very important role to play.
Definitely. Actually, the private sector is the leader of development in all countries, not just in Africa, I mean worldwide.
Yeah.
And that is why we are an intergovernmental agency. I mean, your main role is to facilitate the interaction of the private sector. So in that regard, we have planned this first Africa 2016 forum. We did it in partnership with the Ministry of Investment, International Cooperation, and Ministry of Trade, and with cooperation also with the African Development Bank and COMESA, which is a regional group where we belong to. And the sky is the limit. Not only did we only have that, but we are also working on developing some information portals which will also facilitate the role of the private sector. We are trying to develop a portal to provide what we call business guides about each African country. We provide information about what companies are there, what are their profiles, what is the business environment, customs, the trade barriers, so that any businessman who want to do business in one country, they have familiarity with what's going on there and what to expect. We're developing another portal which is called about finance and insurance, because there are many financial instruments available for businessmen who wants to do trade or investments in other African countries, but they do not know what are these instruments. So we're going to provide them on a portal. There are also instruments for risk mitigation, like to mitigate against political risk or economic risks. So also these instruments, when we inform the private sector about it, it does stimulate them to do business and to make use of them. And this is part of what we want to do as well.
Right. President Sisi expressed hope that we need to double the trade with Africa in the next 5 years to reach the 10 billion US dollars. And I guess that this is a great aim that we need to achieve.
Yes.
The mechanism according to which we're working to reach that level.
Well, I mean, definitely the country is working on two fronts. First of all, there are all these internal reforms that are being done domestically, and as the economy starts to expand and the infrastructure becomes better, your natural breathing ground or natural lung for expansion is the African markets. In that regard, also, we do know that they are the fastest growing markets in the world. Right. So as part of it, we should take use of the opportunity. And also, we are working on several fronts. As I mentioned, the issue of transportation and infrastructure. Egypt is leading a project to connect Lake Victoria with the Mediterranean. And that project is supposed to untap the energies of a lot of landlocked states in the middle. So they will have access to the Mediterranean, and that will make transportation cheaper and things better. The African Union itself has a grand design for having a road link from Alexandria to Cape Town. Most of it is finished. I mean, parts are still working on. The president himself discussed with the businessmen in the forum, we need to have a good functioning road between Cairo and Addis Ababa. That's where all the people, the freight, and all the trade and investment will take place. And just when people mingle and interact and economic interests are intertwined, automatically it reduces stress on any other fronts, and it makes people-to-people relation much more vibrant and much more healthier.
Definitely.
Exactly. So that's also a very important vision. So beside the infrastructure, we have a lot of Egyptian companies that are working in Africa already. We need to help them with providing some adequate finance for the project, but they are very competitive. And also we are trying to stimulate what they call nodes of chains of value among small and medium enterprises.
Encouraging SMEs is on top of the list.
Exactly. And as a part of the agency, in an attempt to try to help with that, we also signed a memorandum of understanding during the forum with the Social Development Fund, trying to transport its experience to other African countries in the areas of empowering youth, employment generation, empowering women, use of microcredit. And it has been very popular. A lot of African countries are asking for that, because you simply need to know how to do it. And we have a long experience with the Social Development Fund, and we hope to help in that area as well.
Great. More about the people-to-people and healthy relations also through the soft power and that plays a very important role hand in hand with diplomacy. So in that respect, the media is also playing a very important role. Like we do have here at ERTU an important institute that delivers on that, training African media men, and this sense of exposure that we provide is also very important.
It is very important, and we have just recently reached an agreement with Mr. Hazem Amir to bring some African prominent media persons to be trained here in Egypt. We also, over the last year, we have hosted 2 groups of African journalists and TV anchors. One was an Anglophone group, was a Francophone group. Of course, this was also very timely because Egypt was treated a little bit unfairly from foreign media. So it was very important for African brothers and sisters to see with themselves and their own eyes what's happening in Egypt. So they came and they met with a lot of people, including the president graciously made both groups, the foreign minister, the Human Rights Council. I mean, they have been all over Egypt. They interacted with people in the streets. And I cannot tell you, I mean, just the radical shift in their perception of Egypt just by being here among the people, meeting officials, meeting people on the street. It was very helpful. And of course, if each one of them just communicates with 100 or 1,000 more people, then of course it helps a lot about Egypt's image. And we did receive from our ambassadors abroad, I mean, the coverage they did, whether on TV or radio or in journals and magazines, it was very impressive and very much worth the cause.
Great. Well, the state today believes very much in our treasure of the future, namely the youth.
Yes.
How are you making use and investing in this treasure, Mr. Ambassador, in collaboration with the agency? I mean, we find the youth in every important forum being held today. And definitely, they deliver very professionally.
Yes, actually, I can give you a very concrete example. Tomorrow, we have the Center of African Studies in Cairo University. They are hosting 80 young men and women, 70 of which are African brothers and sisters. They are youth, and they are doing them a model for the African Union. And I'm going to give them a lecture about what the agency is doing and so on. And we do support them also financially in preparing such activities. In addition to things like, as I told you, like the social fund, which we are trying to help the youth with through that mechanism as well.
That's great. The youth are our future, and African youth definitely must unite.
And Africa is one of the youngest populations in the world, by the way.
Right. Right. Well, moving forward, Egypt and Africa forward ever. Let's watch this report, a reflection, a flashback of a very important forum that was held on Egyptian soil, Africa 2016. Let's watch the report and we'll be back.
States, ministers, business leaders, policymakers, investment promotion agencies, and development partners attended Africa 2016, one of the biggest regional business and investment forums last month, taking place in Sharm el-Sheikh, and was held under the high patronage of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi for an extensive dialogue on Africa, the world's lost investment frontier. A presidential panel was held during the opening ceremony with Theodore Obiang, President of Equatorial Guinea, Hailemariam Desalegn,